new one that's got David, Solomon, and Job in natural form. I'll have one, and I'll get a joy I never expected out of life. I ain't got so much poetry in me, but it always riled me to read 7. The law of the Lord is perfect, converting the soul. 8. The statutes of the Lord are right. 9. The fear of the Lord is clean. And so it goes on. 'Bout as much figures as they is poetry. Always did worry me. So if they make Bibles 'cordin' to common sense, I'll have one to-morrow, if I have to walk to Onabasha to get it. Lawsy me, if you ain't gathered up Marthy's old pink tea set and give it a show, too. Did you do that to please David, or do you honestly think them is nice dishes?"
"I think they are beautiful," laughed the girl, sinking to a chair. I don't know that it did please him. He had been studying the subject, but something saved him from buying anything until I came. I'd have felt dreadfully if he had gotten what he wanted.
"What did he want, honey?"
asked the old lady in an awestruck whisper. "Eggshell china and cut glass."
"And you wouldn't let him? Woman, what do you want?"
"A set of tulip yellow dishes with Dutch little figures on them. They are so quaint, and they would harmonize perfectly with this room." The old lady laughed gleefully.
"My! I wouldn't 'a' missed this for $1," she cried. "It just does my soul good. More'n that, if you really like Marthy's dishes and are going to take care of them and use them right, I'll give you mine too. I ain't never had a girl. I've always hoped she'd 'a' had some judgment of her own and not been eternally apin' if I had, but the Lord may 'a' saved me many a disappointment by sending all mine boys. Not that I'm layin' the babies on to the Lord at all. I just got into the habit of sayin' that 'cause everybody else does. But all mine, I had a purty good idea how I got them. If a girl of mine wouldn't 'a' had more sense, raised right with me, I'd 'a' been purty bad cut up over it. Of course, I can't be held responsible for the girls my boys married, but t'other day Emmeline, that's John's wife, John is the youngest, and I sort o' cling to him. Emmeline, she says to me, 'Mother, can't I have this old pink and green teapot?' My heart warmed right up to the child, and I says, 'What do you want it for, Emmeline?' And she says, 'To draw the tea in.' Cracky Dinah! That fool woman meant to set my grandmother's weddin' present from her pa and ma, dishes same as Marthy Washington used, on the stove to bile the tea in. I just snorted. 'No,' says I, 'you can't. 'Fore I die,' says I'll meet up with some woman that'll love dishes and know how to treat them. I think just about as much of David as I do my own boys. And I don't make no bones of the fact that he's a heap more of a man. I'd just as soon my dishes went to his children as to John's. I'll give you every piece I got, if you'll take care of them."
"Would it be right?" wavered the girl.
"Right! Why, I'm just tellin' you the fool women would bile tea in them, make grease saucers of them, and use them to dish up the bacon on. Wouldn't you a heap rather see them go into a cupboard like David's ma's is in, and where they'd be taken care of if they was yours? I guess you would."
"Well, if you feel that way and really want us to have them, I know David will build another little cupboard on the other side of the fireplace to put yours in, and I can't tell you how I'd love and care for them." "I'll just do it," said Granny Moreland. "I got about as many blue ones as Marthy had, and mine are purtier than hers, and my lustre is brighter, for I didn't use it so much. Is this the kitchen? Well, if I ever saw such a cool white place to cook in before. Ain't David the beatin'est hand to think up things? He got the start of that taking care of his ma all his life. He sort of learned what a woman uses and how it's handiest. Not that other men don't know. It's just that they are too mortal selfish and careless to fix things. Well, this is great. Now when you bile cabbage and the wash, always open your winders wide
and let the steam out so it won't spile your walls."
"I'll be very careful," promised the Girl. "Now come and see my bathroom, closet, and bedroom."
"Well, as I live! Ain't this fine? I'll bet a purty that if I'd 'a' had a room and a trough like this to soak in when I was wore to a frazzle, I wouldn't 'a' got all twisted up with rheumatiz like I am. It just looks restful to see. I never washed in a place like this in all my days. It must feel grand to be wet all over at once. Now everybody ought to have such a room and use it at all hours, like David does the lake. Did you ever see his beat to go swimming? He's always in splashin'. Been at it all his life. I used to be scared when he was a little tyke. He soaked so much, 'peared like he'd wash all the substance out of him, but it only made him strong."
"Has he ever been ill?"
"Not that I know of, and I reckon I'd knowed it if he had. Well, what a clothes press! I never saw so many dresses at once. Ain't they purty? Oh, I wish I was young and could have one like that yeller. And I'd like to have one like your lavender right now. My! You are lucky to have so many nice clothes. It's a good thing most girls haven't got them, or they'd stand primping all day, trying to decide which one to put on. I don't see how you tell yourself."
"I wear the one that best hides how pale I am," answered the Girl. "I use the colours now. When I grow plump and rosy, I'll wear the white." Granny Moreland dropped on the couch and assured herself that it was Martha's pink Peter Hartman. Then she examined the sunshine room.
"Well, I got to go back to the start," she said at last. "This beats the dinin' room. This is the prettiest thing I ever saw. Oh, I do hope they ain't so run to white in Heaven as some folks seems to think. Used to be scandalized if a body took anything but a white flower to a funeral. Now they tell me that when Jedge Stilton's youngest girl come from New York to her pa's buryin', she fetched about a wash tub of blood red roses. Put them all over him, too. Said he loved red roses livin', and so he was goin' to have them when he passed over. Now if they are lettin' up a little on white on earth, maybe some of the stylish ones will carry the fashion over yonder. If Heaven is like this, I won't spend none of my time frettin' about the foundations. I'll just forget there is any, even if we do always have to be so particular to get them solid on earth. Talk of gold harps, can't you almost hear them? And listen to the birds and that water. Say, you won't get lonesome here, will you?"
"Indeed no," answered the Girl. "Wouldn't you like to lie on my beautiful couch that the Harvester made with his own hands? And I'll spread Mother Langston's coverlet over you and let you look at all my pretty things while I slip away a few minutes to something I'd like to do."
"I'd love to," said the old woman. "I never had a chance at such fine things. David told me he was makin' your room all himself, and that he was goin' to fill it chuck full of everything a girl ever used, and I see he done it right and proper. Away last March he told me he was buildin' for you, and I hankered so to have a woman here again, even though I never supposed she'd be sociable like you, and I egged him on just all I could. I never would 'a' supposed the boy could marry like this, all by himself."
The Girl went to the ice chest to bring some of the fruit juice, chilled berries, and to the pantry for bread and wafers to make a dainty little lunch that she placed on the veranda table, and then she and Granny Moreland talked until the visitor said that she must go. The Girl went with her to the little bridge crossing Singing Water on the north. There the old lady took her hand.
"Honey," she said, "I'm going to tell you something. I am so happy I can pert near fly. Last night I was comin' down the pike over there, chasin' home a contrary old gander of mine, and I looked over on your land, and I see David settin' on a log with his head between his hands, a lookin' like grim death, if I ever see it. My heart plumb stopped. Says I, 'She's a failure. She's a bustin' the boy's heart. I'll go straight over and tell her so.' I didn't dare bespeak him, but I was on nettles all night.